I was relaxing in my Santa Barbara beach house when at 50 inches the morning, the security alarm went off. Mike, the night watchman, said nervously. Your daughter-in-law is here with a moving crew. She says she's the new owner of the house. I took a sip of my tea and smiled. Let her in. Mike, let them all in. She's about to get a big surprise. I know what you're thinking. How can a 8-year-old woman react like that when someone is stealing her property right in front of her? Let me explain something. Calm is not weakness. Calm is the most powerful weapon you have when you already know how the movie ends. But before I tell you how I got to that moment, you need to know my full story. Because this isn't a victim's story. This is a story of patience, strategy, and justice. And if you want to know how a grandmother taught the lesson of a lifetime to someone who tried to take everything from her, subscribe to this channel, because stories like this need to be told. My name is Eleanor Bishop. I'm 68 years old. I've had 40 years of tireless work. 8 years of widowhood. I built my estate with these hands, that now tremble a little holding a cup, but never trembled when I had to raise my family. That Friday morning, as the sky over Santa Barbara began to turn orange, I was on the patio of my oceanfront home. A house I bought with my severance package. After retiring as the chief accountant for the Pacific Apparel Group, 40 years, tracking other people's money down, to the last penny. I learned the exact value of money and effort. The salt breeze messed up my hair as I held my cup of chamomile tea. I have a ritual. Every morning before dawn, I go down to the patio with my terracotta-colored wool blanket, the one my mother knitted before she died, and I watch the ocean wake up. It's my moment of peace. My moment to remember why I keep going. Then I heard the gate buzzer. Insistent. Aggressive. It wasn't a friendly visit. Mike, my night watchman, a man in his 50s, with a face of constant worry, came running from the side garden. His flashlight bounced off his security vest. Mrs. Bishop. Sorry for the hour. His voice cracked. There's a moving truck at the gate. And your daughter-in-law, Mrs. Samantha. She says she's here for her things. That the house is hers now. I didn't get up right away. I took another sip of my tea. I felt the warm liquid go down my throat. I watched the waves crash against the rocks. How many people does she have with her? I asked with a calm that surprised even me. 3 movers. Mom. And a big truck. One of those professional moving trucks. I smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was a smile of recognition. That moment you've been waiting for has finally arrived. Mike. Open the gate for them. Mom. Let them pass. Let her in. Let her do whatever she wants. Mike looked at me like I had lost my mind. And maybe I looked it. Maybe anyone would think that an elderly woman alone, surrendering to being dispossessed, had simply resigned herself. But I knew something Samantha didn't. Something nobody knew yet. Samantha. My daughter-in-law. The woman who married my only son. Daniel. 5 years ago. A 6-year-old woman. Beautiful, like she'd stepped off a magazine cover. Cunning as a fox. Ambitious as they come. When Daniel introduced her to me, I wanted to believe in her. I wanted to believe that my son, after 2 failed relationships, had finally found someone who truly loved him. Daniel was 43 years old. He worked as a civil engineer for a construction firm. He made good money, but he never had a head for business. He was always noble. Too noble. Samantha came into our lives like a perfumed whirlwind. Beautiful. Educated. With that way of speaking, that makes everything sound important. She claimed to work in digital marketing, but I never really saw her work. At first, she would hug me. She called me Mom. She brought desserts when she visited. But I'm not stupid. I never was. I noticed how her eyes scanned my house every time she came, how she asked with a little too much interest about my retirement, my properties, my plans. How she whispered with Daniel when they thought I wasn't listening. Now, as I heard the truck's engine entering my property, as I heard the hurried steps of the movers, as I heard Samantha's authoritative voice giving orders, I remembered the exact moment I knew this woman hadn't entered my family for love. It was 2 years ago at a Christmas dinner. Daniel casually brought up that I should start the inheritance process early. That way, we'd avoid estate taxes. Samantha nodded beside him with that smile that no longer seemed warm to me, but calculating. That night after they left, I cried, not for the money, but because my son saw me as an obstacle between him and his future. But the tears dried, and in their place, something harder, something smarter grew. I finished my tea. I stood up. I adjusted my ivory-colored cotton robe and my slippers. I tied my gray hair back into a simple ponytail. And I walked inside the house because Samantha was about to learn the most expensive lesson of her life, and I was ready to teach it. But what Samantha didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment for months, and what she was about to discover would change everything. From the second-floor window, I watched Samantha direct the movers, as if she were the owner of an empire. She was wearing tight jeans, a white silk blouse, and dark sunglasses. Even though it was barely dawn, her perfectly straight brown hair fell over her shoulders, always impeccable, always in control. Or so she thought. That entire patio set. She pointed to my terrace. The garden furniture is teak. It costs a fortune. The gray sofa in the main living room. The marble coffee table. Everything of value goes on the truck. The movers looked at each other uncomfortable. One of them, a young guy in a baseball cap, asked, "Do you have documents proving this is yours?" "Ma'am." Samantha pulled a folder from her Louis Vuitton bag. "Authentic. Of course. Bought with Daniel's money." And showed them some papers. "It's all right here. A gift deed signed by the previous owner. It's all legal." Ali. A lie so big it almost made me laugh from my window. You see, I need to tell you how all this started. I met Samantha 5 years ago at Daniel's birthday party. He brought her in on his arm, beaming with that smile I hadn't seen on him since he was a boy. She was wearing a red dress that hugged her figure. High heels. Perfect makeup. When she greeted me, she took my hands in hers. "Eleanor, Daniel has told me so much about you. It's an honor to meet the woman who raised such a wonderful man." The right words. The right tone. The right smile. But I've lived 68 years. And you learn to read what's behind the smiles. Her eyes were studying me. Not with affection, but with appraisal. Like when you walk into a store and calculate if you can afford what you see in the window. The first few months were pure theater. Samantha would come to my house in Pasadena every Sunday. She'd help in the kitchen, ask about my health, bring flowers. Daniel was enchanted. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted my instincts to be lying to me. But then the subtle changes began. The visits became every 2 weeks. Then monthly. Daniel started canceling meals with me because Samantha had planned something. When I called, he sounded rushed, distracted, always in a hurry. One afternoon, I confronted him. It was in my kitchen 6 months after the wedding. Daniel had come alone, which was rare by then. "Son? I feel like I'm losing you," I said as I poured him coffee. He avoided my gaze. "Mom, it's not that. It's just Samantha thinks you're very invasive. She says we need space to build our marriage." Invasive. That word cut me like a knife. Invasive for wanting to see my son. Don't take it personally. She comes from a different kind of family. More independent. More independent. As if loving your family was a weakness. I swallowed my pain. I smiled. I told him I understood, but that night, alone in my house, I cried until I ran out of tears. My husband, Richard, had died 8 years earlier from a sudden heart attack. Daniel was all I had left, and someone was taking him from me. Piece by piece, the months passed. The distance grew. Daniel stopped telling me about his life. I no longer knew if he was having trouble at work, if he was happy, if he was sleeping well. Samantha had built a wall between us. Brick be brick. With soft words and venomous smiles. And then the hints about money began. It was at a family dinner. 2.5 years ago, Daniel and Samantha invited me to an elegant restaurant, the Pacific Club in Beverly Hills. I thought they wanted to reconcile with me. I arrived with hope in my chest. Samantha ordered expensive wine. Daniel seemed nervous. Halfway through the meal, she dropped the question with a sweet smile. Eleanor, Daniel told me you have 3 properties. What a blessing. Right. It must be complicated to manage all that at your age. At my age. As if the 66 years I had then made me incapable, I managed them just fine. Thank you, I replied curtly. Of course. Of course. I was just saying that. Well, Daniel is your only heir. And with estate taxes so high in California, it would be smarter to gift the properties while you're living. That way, you avoid the government taking half. Daniel stared at his plate. He didn't defend me. He didn't say, "Now's not the time." Or, "That's up to my mom." Just complice silence. My properties are in a living trust, I replied. I am the sole beneficiary while I live. After I pass, they go to Daniel. Everything is in order. Samantha pressed her lips together. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. How organized. Although, don't you trust your own son? That question. That damned question that haunted me for months. Because there was the real poison. Making me feel guilty for protecting what I had built with 40 years of work. Making me feel as if not trusting him enough to hand everything over immediately meant I didn't love my son. From my window, I watched as Samantha now pointed toward my collection of paintings in the living room. Paintings I had bought on my travels. Each with a story. With a memory. Those, too. Anything that has value. One of the movers asked again. Are you sure the owner authorized this? Because if not, we could get in trouble. Samantha's voice turned sharp. Do your job, and I'll pay you double. The money. Always the money. That was Samantha. Beautiful on the outside. Empty on the inside. And my son, my noble good Daniel, had fallen in love with the wrapping without seeing that the gift was rotten. I took a deep breath. I let her act. I let her get confident because every minute that passed, every piece of furniture she ordered loaded, every word she said in front of witnesses was one more piece of evidence. And I had learned something in 40 years of accounting. Numbers don't lie. Documents don't lie. The truth always comes to light when you know where to look. Samantha shouted toward the house. And check the study. There must be a safe. She probably keeps the deeds and jewelry in there. I smiled because she had no idea what I really kept in that study, and she was about to find out. But there was something Samantha was completely ignoring. Something that would change her triumphant smile into an expression of absolute panic. I walked down the stairs slowly, without rushing. Each step was a conscious decision. Each step brought me closer to the moment I had been waiting for. For months. From the foyer, I could see Samantha's back. She was still giving orders. Oblivious to my presence, the movers were moving boxes, wrapping lamps, unplugging the big screen TV Daniel had given me last year for my birthday. Ironic, wasn't it? He gave me that gift, and now his wife was here to steal it. But let me explain what was really at stake here. Because this wasn't just about a beach house or some furniture. This was about my life's work. I have 3 properties. 3. Each one bought with my own effort. Without help from anyone. The first? My family home in Pasadena. A 2-story house with a garden. 4 bedrooms where I raised Daniel. Where I buried my husband. Richard. Valued at $4.8 million, according to the last appraisal. My memories are there. The photos on the walls. In the lemon tree we planted, when Daniel turned 5. The second. A condo in Beverly Hills, that I bought 15 years ago as an investment. I rent it to a foreign couple. $1 million. $2 million in value. That monthly rent of $4,000 helps me live with dignity. To not ask anyone for anything. To be independent. The third. This house on the beach in Santa Barbara. My refuge. My place of peace. 5 million. 5 millions. I bought it with my severance when I retired. 40 years of working. Calculating other people's budgets. Auditing multi-million-dollar accounts. While I lived modestly. And when it was finally my turn. When I received my severance package of $280,000 plus my savings. I decided to give myself this gift. A place to wake up watching the ocean. A place where no one told me what to do. A place that was mine. Total assets. 6 million. 5 millions. Plus savings in the bank. Plus investments in mutual funds. Almost $15 million in total. Too many. Maybe it's not a fortune. But for a woman who started working as an accounting assistant earning $800 a month 40 years ago. Who was widowed and had to raise a son alone. Who never spent on luxuries. But on education and the future. It was my dignity turned into figures. And Samantha wanted it all. Not part. All. After Richard died. When Daniel was 25 and already working. My lawyer recommended I create a living trust. Something to protect my assets. But secure my son's future. Eleanor. Mr. Gregory Hayes told me. A serious man in his 60s who had been Richard's friend. Put everything in a trust. You will be the sole beneficiary as long as you live. No one can touch anything. When you pass away, everything automatically goes to Daniel. Clean. Legal. Without excessive taxes. And that's what I did. I signed the documents. Everything was protected. I could use. Sell. Rent. Or do whatever I wanted with my properties. But no one else could claim them. Not even Daniel. When I explained this to my son, he understood. Or so I thought. Mom. That's perfect. I don't want you to worry about these things. I just want you to live peacefully. Those were his words 8 years ago when he was still my Daniel. Before Samantha. Everything changed 6 months ago. It was a Sunday. Daniel and Samantha showed up unannounced at my house in Pasadena. I was in the garden pruning the roses. Samantha was holding a folder and had an expression that no longer tried to disguise itself as kind. Mom. We need to talk. Daniel said, without even greeting me with a kiss. We sat in the living room. Samantha opened the folder and took out some printed documents. Look. Eleanor. Daniel and I have been researching. If you gift the properties now while you're alive, the taxes are much lower. And besides, she paused. At your age, wouldn't it be better to simplify? Not have to worry about managing all this. At your age. That phrase again, I don't need to simplify anything. I am perfectly capable. Of course you are. Daniel Kimedin. But his voice sounded rehearsed. No one is saying otherwise. It's just, well, Samantha and I want to buy a bigger house. We're thinking about having kids soon. And if we could sell the Beverly Hills condo or get a loan using these properties as collateral, there it was. The naked truth. They wanted my assets as collateral for their plans. For their life. As if my 40 years of work were simply a resource available for their whims. The answer is no. Samantha's mask fell off completely. You don't trust your own son. What kind of mother does that? One who worked every day of her life to have something of her own. One who isn't going to give away her security just because someone asks. Daniel stood up. Furious. I had never seen him like that. You're incredibly selfish. Mom. Everything I have. I owe to you. But now that I need your support, you turn your back on me. Those words broke me into pieces. My son. My only son. Calling me selfish for not handing over everything I had built. Samantha put her hand on Daniel's shoulder. Leave her. Honey. I see how it is. She'd rather cling to her things than help her own family. They left. Slamming the door. I stayed in that living room, trembling with a pain in my chest that wasn't physical, but hurt more than any illness. That night, I cried until dawn, not for the money, but because I had lost my son, because Samantha had achieved what she wanted, turning him against me. But when the sun came up, something inside me changed. I stopped crying. I got up. I looked at myself in the mirror. I saw a 6-8-year-old woman with dark circles and wrinkles. Yes, but I also saw something else. I saw strength. I saw intelligence. I saw 40 years of experience dealing with numbers, with audits, with people who tried to steal or cheat. And I knew I wasn't going to be a victim. That same day, I called Mr. Hayes. I need your help. Someone is going to try to take what's mine. And I need to be prepared. Now, standing in the foyer of my beach house, watching Samantha direct the looting of my belongings, I remembered every step I had taken since that day. Every document I had hidden. Every recording I had saved. Every piece of evidence I had gathered. Samantha finally turned around, saw me standing there in my robe and slippers, and smiled. A victorious smile. Eleanor. What a surprise to see you here. I didn't say anything yet. I just watched her. And in that silence, she made her first mistake of the morning. She thought my silence was surrender. But what she didn't know was that every second that passed, every word she said was digging her own grave. Samantha walked toward me with that confidence only those who think they've already won possess. Her heels clicked against the hardwood floor. She stopped about 3 feet away from me, crossed her arms, and tilted her head with an expression of false concern. Eleanor, did you sleep well? You look confused. Confused. What a convenient word. I am perfectly clear. Samantha, I see you brought help. She let out a soft, almost maternal laugh. Oh. Of course. I know this must be hard for you to process. That's why I came early. To not make you go through a bad time. Remember those papers you signed a month ago, the gift deed? This house is in my name now. Legally. She offered me coffee in my own house, as if she were the hostess and I were the guest. But I need to go back. I need to tell you about that dinner. The dinner that broke me, but also woke me up. Because that's when I understood just how far this woman was capable of going. It was 3 months ago. A Friday night. Daniel called me. Something unusual by then. His voice sounded almost cheerful. Mom? Samantha and I want to invite you to dinner. We haven't spent family time together in so long. How about the Pacific Club, that place you like? My heart lit up. Maybe. I thought, maybe things could get better. Maybe Samantha had reflected. Maybe my son missed me as much as I missed him. How naive I was. I arrived at the restaurant in a wine-colored dress I saved for special occasions. I did my hair carefully. I put on the pearl necklace Richard gave me for our 20th anniversary. I wanted to look good. I wanted Daniel to be proud of his mom. When I entered, I saw there were more people than I expected. At the long table were Samantha's parents, Frank and Linda, a middle-class couple who had always treated me coldly, Samantha's sister, Megan. He was also there with her husband, and 2 other couples I didn't know, but whom Samantha introduced as close family friends. 12 people. An intimate dinner had turned into an event, Samantha greeted me with a hug that smelled of expensive perfume and falsehood. Eleanor. So good to see you. Sit here next to me. She placed me in the middle of the table. Daniel was at the other end. Curiously far away. As if I had been placed in the center of a stage. We started dinner. I ordered the chicken piccata. Something simple. The others ordered expensive dishes. Wines that cost over $200 a bottle. I drank mineral water. The conversation flowed normally. They talked about trips, about business, about gossip, about people I didn't know. I felt out of place. But I tried to smile. To nod. To participate when I could. Then, between the main course and dessert, Samantha raised her glass. I want to make a toast. To family. To the bonds that unite us. Everyone raised their glasses. I raised my water glass. And also, Samantha looked directly at me. I want to express my concern for Eleanor. The restaurant didn't fall silent. But our table did. All eyes turned to me. Concern. We've noticed that lately you've been forgetful. You confuse dates. You repeat stories. Sometimes you don't remember conversations we just had. My stomach clenched. What was she talking about? I don't know what you're referring to. Samantha placed her hand on mine, with that condescending softness adults use with small children. Don't be embarrassed. Please. It's normal at your age. My grandmother started the same way. First little memory lapses. Then. Well. You know, Linda. Her mother. Nodded with feigned sadness. It's true. Dementia is terrible. My aunt had it. It started exactly like that. I do not have dementia. My voice trembled. But I tried to keep it steady. Daniel, from the other end, intervened for the first time. Mom. No one is saying you have it. Just that you should get some tests done as a precaution. Megan, Samantha's sister, added in a syrupy voice. It's just that we worry about you. Eleanor, a woman alone. Managing properties. Finance. What if you get confused about something important? You could lose everything. There it was. The real intention, to paint me as incapable. Sénile. As someone who needed others to take control of her life. One of Samantha's friends. A man with glasses and a suit. Who I later found out was a lawyer. Commented almost casually. In cases like this, the best thing is to establish a legal conservatorship. Someone to manage the assets until the person, well, until they recover or other measures are taken. I realized it right then. It was all planned. This dinner wasn't a reconciliation. It was a public ambush. A humiliation designed so that respectable witnesses would see a confused old woman. To build a case, to justify taking away control of my assets. Samantha continued, addressing the guests. That's why Daniel and I want to convince her to sign over power of attorney for her own safety. That way, if something happens, if she gets confused or needs help, we can act quickly. The pitying looks cut right through me. They saw me as a problem, as a stubborn old woman who wouldn't accept her decline. I tried to speak, to defend myself. But my throat was closed. Tears were fighting to get out. And I couldn't let them. Not in front of these people. Not giving them that satisfaction. I don't need any conservator. I managed to say, I am perfectly fine. Samantha sighed as if dealing with a capricious child. That's exactly what all patients say in the early stages. Denial is part of the process. Daniel said nothing. My son. My only blood relative. I was sitting there letting his wife destroy me in front of strangers. And his silence hurt more than any word. I got up from the table. I left my napkin on the plate. I took my bag. Excuse me. But I don't feel well. I'm leaving. No one tried to stop me. Well, Samantha made a dramatic gesture. See, she gets upset easily. Another symptom. I left the restaurant with what little dignity I had left. I hailed a cab and the entire way home I cried. I cried for my lost son. I cried for the cruelty. I cried because I felt small, humiliated, defenseless. I got to my empty house. I took off the wine-colored dress and threw it in the back of the closet. I took off the pearls. I looked in the mirror and saw a broken woman. But that night, between the tears and the insomnia, something inside me hardened. I refused to be a victim. I refused to let this woman steal not only my assets, but my dignity, my history, my worth. The next morning, I made 3 calls. First, to Gregory Hayes, my lawyer. Second, to a private investigator whose name a friend had given me years ago. Third, to my primary care physician, Dr. Evans, to have him run every cognitive test possible and document that I was in full command of my mental faculties. If Samantha wanted a war, she would get one, but it would be a war she wouldn't see coming. Now, standing in my beach house, watching Samantha smile, believing she had won, I remembered every second of that humiliation. And I was filled with an icy calm. Because pain teaches you, and I had learned well. Do you want that coffee? Eleanor, Samantha asked, gesturing toward the kitchen as if it were hers. I smiled. For the first time in months, I truly smiled. No. Thank you. I'd rather wait for my guests to arrive. Samantha blinked, confused. What guests? And just then, the gate buzzer rang. The buzzer rang once. Twice. Insistent, Samantha looked toward the door. Then, at me. For the first time that morning, I saw a shadow of doubt cross her face. Who else is coming at this hour? I didn't answer. I just walked toward the entryway with slow, deliberate steps. Mike had already opened the gate. I heard a car engine. Then another. Footsteps approaching. But before I tell you who arrived, you need to understand how I prepared this moment. Because justice doesn't arrive on its own. Justice is built, documented, and planned with patience. That morning after the humiliating dinner, I woke up with swollen eyes but a clear mind. I made myself coffee the way my mother taught me, with cinnamon. I sat in my kitchen and took out a notebook. For 40 years, I had managed ledgers, numbers, audits, evidence. I knew how the world of documents, proof, and records worked. And if my job had taught me anything, it's this. The truth always leaves a trail. You just have to know where to look. I wrote 3 names in that notebook. Gregory Hayes, trusted lawyer. Dr. Armando Evans, my doctor of 20 years. Paul Jensen, private investigator. 3 pillars to build my defense. Mr. Hayes came to my house that same Monday. He's 68. Like me. With perfectly combed gray hair. Always in an impeccable suit. He was Richard's classmate in college. An honorable man. I told him everything. The dinner. The accusations of dementia. The pressure to sign over power of attorney. Daniel's estrangement. Gregory listened without interrupting. When I finished, he adjusted his glasses and said, Eleanor, this is a classic pattern. They are building a case to declare you incompetent and take control of your assets. We've seen this before. Elderly people with assets. Ambitious relatives. What can I do? First, we need to document your full mental capacity. No judge can declare you incompetent if we have recent medical studies proving otherwise. That same afternoon, I went to see Dr. Evans. He ran all the tests. A mini mental state exam, memory tests, a complete cognitive evaluation. A week later, I had the results in my hands. A 8-year-old patient with cognitive function completely normal for her age. No signs of impairment. Oriented to time, space, and person. Excellent working memory. intact judgment capacity. I guarded those documents like gold. They were my shield against Samantha's lies. But I needed more. I needed to know who the woman who had infiltrated my family really was. Paul Jensen came to my house on a Thursday afternoon. He's a man of about 55. Ex-PD. Now, a private investigator. A friend had given me his contact years ago when he helped her sister with an infidelity case. Mrs. Bishop. What do you need to know? He asked, taking out a small notepad. Everything. I want to know who Samantha Miller was before she met my son. Her previous relationships. Her debts. Her history. Everything you can find. Paul nodded. I'll tell you up front. This takes time and it costs money. I don't care what it costs. I need the truth. I paid him a $4,000 deposit. Paul began his work. In the meantime, I did my own silent investigation. Every time Daniel and Samantha visited me, I recorded the conversations on my phone. I'd leave it on the table. Seemingly forgotten. But recording every word. I recorded every call where they pressured me about the properties. Every derogatory comment about my age. Every insinuation that I was losing my mind. I also installed discreet security cameras in my Pasadena house. Small. Almost invisible. In the living room. The dining room. The entryway. Gregory had recommended it. If they try to force you to sign something. If they yell at you. If there's any kind of coercion. You need proof. He told me. 3 weeks passed. Then Paul called me. Mrs. Bishop. I need to see you. I found important things. We met at a quiet coffee shop downtown. Paul put a thick folder on the table. My heart was pounding. Samantha Miller. He began. 36 years old. Originally from Phoenix. And here's where it gets interesting. He opened the folder. Inside were photographs. Printed documents. Reports. Samantha was married before. From 2015 to 2018. To a Dallas businessman named Vincent Grant. He was 52 when they married. She was 26. He showed me wedding photos. Samantha looked radiant. Exactly like when she married Daniel. Same calculating smile. The marriage ended in a contentious divorce. Vincent accused her of manipulating him into putting properties in her name. Of emptying joint bank accounts. There's a fraud lawsuit that never went anywhere because they reached a private settlement. He paid her $200. 000 to go away and leave him alone. I felt like I couldn't breathe. 200,000. Yep, and there's more. Before Vincent. She was in a relationship with a widower from Philadelphia. It lasted 6 months. He was also older. Also had properties. The relationship ended abruptly when the man's children confronted him with evidence that she was selling things from the family home without authorization. Paul pulled out more papers. Samantha has debts. Lots of them. Credit cards. 78美元. 0 in total. 4 different cards. All maxed out. She also owes money to private lenders. At least another $20. Ling ling ling. Almost $98. 0 inches debt. And she was living like a millionaire. Does Daniel know this? Paul shook his head. I doubt it. I also looked into your son. Mom, Daniel has a clean credit history. Stable income. But since marrying Samantha, he took out a $40. 0 personal loan, and another for $30. 0 last year. All that money vanished. My son was in debt because of her. Taking on debts he didn't even know he had. And the final blow. Paul took out screenshots of text messages. I managed to access conversations between Samantha and her sister Megan, and between Samantha and a close friend. He read some of the messages. Every word was a knife. Megan. The old woman won't let go of a single penny. But it doesn't matter. I've already found a way. I'm going to make her sign a gift deed. I'll convince her she's losing her memory. Daniel is a useful idiot. He does everything I tell him. His mom has almost $15 million in properties. If I can get her to gift just one, this boring marriage will have been worth it. I'm not waiting for her to die. I have debts to pay now. I'm going to pressure her until she caves. Tears were streaming down my cheeks as Paul read. They weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of rage. How did you get these conversations? Paul smiled faintly. I have my methods. Mom, the important thing is that this is solid evidence of her intentions. Is it legal to use this in a civil trial for fraud or coercion? Yes. It can be used. It wasn't obtained through illegal wiretapping. It was. Let's just say. A source close to Samantha shared them with me. I didn't ask any more questions. I didn't want to know. I took all that information to Gregory. We sat in his office and reviewed every document, every conversation, every piece of evidence. Eleanor, you have a solid case, he said. If Samantha tries anything, if she pressures you to sign, if she tries to have you declared incompetent, we have what we need to defend you. But more than that, we have what we need to countersue. What do you suggest? Gregory leaned back in his chair. We wait. Let her make her move. The more confident she gets, the more mistakes she'll make. And when she makes the definitive mistake, we act. And so I waited. Weeks. A hunter's patience. Until 1 month ago, Samantha made the move I was waiting for. She came to my house with a man she introduced as Mr. Peterson, a specialist in notary matters. They brought updated trust documents, very professional-looking papers with seals, with complicated legal language. We just need your signature here. Eleanor, it's to update the beneficiaries for your protection. The cameras were recording everything. I read every line carefully, and what I saw froze my blood. It wasn't an update. It was a direct donation of the Santa Barbara house to Samantha Miller. Drafted to look legal, but full of hidden defects. I signed. Yes. I signed. But as I finished, I took a photo of the so-called Mr. Peterson's ID. That same afternoon, Gregory investigated. It turned out Mr. Peterson's real name was Hector Peterson. He had been a lawyer until 2021, when the state bar revoked his license for forgery in an inheritance case. Disbarred for 3 years. He couldn't legally practice. The documents he had me sign had no validity. They were decorated paper. Worse. It was a crime. Fraude? Forgery of public documents. Practicing law without a license. Eleanor, we can proceed immediately, Gregory said. With this, we can put her in jail. No, I replied with a calm that surprised me. Not yet. Let her get more confident. I want her to make her biggest mistake. To expose herself completely, so she has no way to deny it. Are you sure? The more time passes, the more complicated it could get. I'm sure. I know this woman. She's not going to be satisfied with just having the papers. She's going to want the house. She's going to want to come and take possession. And when she does, we'll catch her red-handed. And now, watching my real guests arrive at the door of my beach house, I knew that moment had come. Samantha was about to find out that the mouse she thought she had caught was, in fact, the cat. The door opened, and in they walked, one after another. The pieces of my strategy. First, Mr. Gregory Hayes, with his leather briefcase and that serious expression that commanded respect. Behind him, Paul Jensen, the investigator, carrying a box of files. And finally, 2 people who made the color drain completely from Samantha's face. Agents from the district attorney's office. A woman and a man, both with official IDs hanging from their necks. Samantha took a step back. The movers stopped moving furniture. The silence was instantaneous. What is this? Samantha stammered. Gregory stepped forward, placing his briefcase on the dining table with a sharp thud that echoed like a judge's gavel. Good morning. I am Gregory Hayes, legal representative for Mrs. Eleanor Bishop, and these agents are here to investigate an alleged crime of fraud and document forgery. The agent from the DA's office, a woman in her 40s with her hair in a strict ponytail, took out a notebook. Miss Samantha Miller. Correct? Samantha nodded, unable to speak. Her confidence had evaporated like morning dew. We need you to show us the documents that prove your ownership of this property. Samantha searched desperately in her Louis Vuitton bag. She pulled out the folder with trembling hands. She handed it to the agent. But I knew exactly what it contained, because I had signed those papers myself on purpose. Let me explain the most important moment of my strategy. The moment I let Samantha believe she had won was exactly 32 days ago on a Tuesday afternoon. Samantha arrived at my Pasadena house with that man she introduced as Mr. Peterson. He was tall, about 50, in a cheap gray suit and a worn-out briefcase. He smiled too much. His eyes avoided direct contact. I had already activated the hidden cameras. Every word, every gesture would be recorded. Eleanor. What a joy to see you. Samantha kissed my cheek, leaving a lipstick mark that felt like venom. Look. I brought Mr. Plays. Peterson. He specializes in trust paperwork. Daniel and I thought it would be good to update some documents. For your safety. For my safety. How convenient. The supposed lawyer spread the papers on my dining table. Documents with apparently official seals. With dense legal language. With those long paragraphs that make people just look for the signature line and get it over with. Mrs. Bishop. This is a routine procedure. We are basically updating the beneficiaries of your trust so that in case of any eventuality, the transition will be faster and more efficient. I took the documents. I read them slowly, very slowly, and there it was. Hidden in the 8th paragraph on page 3. The granting party hereby cedes in full and unreserved ownership the property located in Santa Barbara, California, to Mrs. Samantha Miller, who accepts said gift in this act. It wasn't an update. It was a direct transfer of ownership. A gift disguised as a formality. It says here that I'm donating my Santa Barbara house. I pointed to the paragraph. The fake lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Well, technically, yes. But it's a procedure to simplify the future inheritance. The taxes will be lower if it's done while you're alive. Your son advised this. Right. Mrs. Miller. Samantha nodded with that sweet smile that now made me sick. It's for your own good. Eleanor. This way. Daniel and I can help you better. And when you need anything, you won't have to worry about the house. We'll take care of it. Translation. When you die, it'll already be ours. But even better, it'll be ours now. And you'll just disappear. I looked the supposed lawyer in the eye. May I see your bar license? He turned pale. He fumbled in his briefcase. Yes. Of course. Here it is. He showed me an ID. I picked up my phone as if I needed my reading glasses to see better and discreetly took a picture of it. I also photographed his driver's license, which I glimpsed in his open wallet. Everything seems to be in order, I said with the voice of a tired old woman. The role they wanted me to play. I signed every page, every initial, every signature. Samantha could barely contain her excitement. Her eyes were shining. The fake lawyer quickly gathered the documents. Perfect. In a few days, you'll have your certified copy, and the new deed will arrive in about 3 weeks. They left in a hurry. Samantha kissed my forehead, as if I were a good girl who had just finished her homework. Thank you. Eleanor. You'll see. This is for the best. As soon as I closed the door, I called Gregory. She fell into the trap. I have everything recorded. That same afternoon, Gregory investigated the so-called Mr. Peterson. His real name was Hector Peterson. He had been a lawyer until 2021, when the bar revoked his license for forging documents in an inheritance case. Disbarred for 3 years. He couldn't legally practice. The documents he had me sign were worthless. They were just decorated paper. Worse. It was a crime. Fraud. Forgery. Practicing law without a license. Eleanor. We can proceed immediately, Gregory said. With this, we can put her in jail. No, I replied with a calm that surprised me. Not yet. Let her get more confident. I want her to make her biggest mistake. To expose herself completely, so she has no way to deny it. Are you sure? I'm sure. I know this woman. She's not going to be satisfied with just having the papers. She's going to want the house. She's going to want to come and take possession. And when she does, we'll catch her red-handed. And I was right. 3 weeks later, the fake documents arrived by courier to my Pasadena house. Fake certified copies. Fake seals. An impressive setup. Samantha had contacts in the world of fraud. That was clear. She called me that same afternoon. Eleanor. The papers arrived. Everything is set. Daniel and I are thinking of going to Santa Barbara this weekend to check on some things at the house. You know, since it's our responsibility now. Of course. Honey. Go whenever you like. You won't be there this weekend. Will you? No. I plan to stay in Pasadena. I have a doctor's appointment on Monday. Ali, I would be in Santa Barbara waiting for her. Now. Standing in my living room, watching the agent from the DA's office review the fake documents page by page, I felt a deep satisfaction. Gregory approached me and handed me a folder. I opened it. Inside were the real documents. The true deeds to my house, filed with the county recorder's office in my name. Inside the untouchable living trust. Agent, I said in a clear, firm voice. Those papers you have in your hands are fakes. They were prepared by a disbarred lawyer, posing as an active professional. I signed under false pretenses, believing it was a simple update. I have recordings of the entire conversation, proving the fraud. Paul Jensen opened his box and took out a laptop. He connected it to my television. And there on the big screen, the video began to play. Samantha and I sitting in my dining room, the fake lawyer lying about the paperwork, me asking specifically about each clause, them assuring me it was routine, that it was for my protection. And then the golden moment when the fake lawyer put the papers away and Samantha said to him, thinking the camera wouldn't pick it up, "How long until we can sell?" 2 months max. I'll forge a deed that can pass a superficial check. With that, you can sign a purchase agreement and get money from a buyer up front. Samantha on the screen was smiling. In my living room, Samantha was trembling. The DA's agent looked up. Miss Miller, you are under arrest for the crimes of fraud, forgery, and criminal conspiracy. You have the right to remain silent. Samantha exploded. This is a trap. Eleanor forced me to sign. She's senile. She doesn't know what she's doing. Gregory pulled out another folder. The medical records. Perfectly legal. Certified with recent dates. Here are my client's cognitive evaluations, conducted 2 weeks ago by 3 different specialists. All conclude, she has full mental capacity. Would you also like to see the recordings of the dinner, where you publicly accused her of dementia without any proof? Paul put on another video. The dinner at the Pacific Club, Samantha with her speech about my supposed dementia, the guests nodding. Danielle silent. This is called premeditated defamation. Gregory continued. Building a false case of incapacity to justify theft of assets, Samantha searched for arguments, but she had none. Every defense she tried was crushed with evidence. Documents. Videos. Recordings. Testimonies. Then she did what all people like her do when they're cornered. She cried. It wasn't my idea. It was Hector, the lawyer. He convinced me. I just I just wanted to help Daniel. We have debts. We needed money. Ah. Yes. Paul pulled out another envelope. These debts, 78美元. 0 inches credit card debt. All spent on clothes. Trips. Restaurants. None of this was for Daniel. Was it? He showed her the bank statements. Purchases at luxury stores. Trips to Cancun. To Cabo. 40美元. 000 beauty treatments. All charged to cards Daniel didn't even know existed. And here. Paul continued. Relentless. Your conversations with your sister Megan, where you textually say, Daniel is a useful idiot. His mom is the one with the money. Samantha collapsed. She dropped onto my sofa. The same sofa she was ordering packed up half an hour ago. And I, for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe fully, but there was still someone else who needed to arrive. Someone who needed to see all of this with their own eyes. Samantha's phone rang. It was Daniel. I could see his name flashing on the screen. She didn't answer. She was paralyzed. Sitting on my sofa with her hands trembling. Her makeup starting to run from her tears. But I picked up my phone. I dialed my son's number. The number I had called for months, only to get curt answers or pure silence. Mom. His voice sounded confused. Samantha sent me a weird text half an hour ago. Said she was in Santa Barbara. What's going on? Daniel. I need you to come to the beach house now. It's urgent. Are you okay? Did something happen? For the first time in a long time, I detected genuine concern in his voice. As if a part of the Daniel I knew still existed under all the layers of manipulation. I'm perfectly fine. But you need to see something. Something that will change everything you think you know. There was a long pause. I'm on my way. I'll be there in an hour and a half. I hung up. I looked at Samantha. She was looking at me with pure hatred. The masks were gone. No more fake smiles or sweet words. Just the naked truth of who she really was. You're a snake. She hissed. A bitter old woman who can't stand to see her son happy. Happy, I repeated calmly. You call burying him in debt without his knowledge happiness, isolating him from his mother, planning to steal his inheritance. That inheritance belongs to him. It's his right. You're just the temporary custodian of money that should be his. There it was. Her true philosophy. To Samantha. I wasn't a person. I was a temporary obstacle between her and the money. The DA's agent interrupted. Mrs. Bishop. We need your formal statement, and we need Miss Miller to come with us for processing. Are you arresting me? Samantha stood up hysterical. You can't arrest me. I didn't do anything. She signed voluntarily. Gregory stepped forward with his professional icy tone. Miss Miller. There is evidence of the following conspiracy to commit fraud. Use of forged documents. Premeditated defamation. And conspiring with a disbarred professional to commit crimes. These are serious felonies. And yes, you are going to face criminal charges. Samantha turned to me. Desperate. Changing her strategy like a chameleon. Eleanor. Please think about it. I'm your son's wife. If you put me in jail, you'll destroy Daniel. Is that what you want? To destroy your own son? That question. That final manipulation attempt. I walked closer to her. I looked her directly in the eyes. And I spoke with a voice I didn't recognize as my own because it was stronger than it had been in months. You already destroyed my son. You turned him into someone I don't recognize. Someone who yells at his mother. Who calls her selfish. Who allows her to be humiliated in public. You put him in debt. You isolated him. You manipulated him. I'm not going to destroy Daniel. I'm going to save him from you. The words hung in the air. Samantha had no reply. The movers, who had been paralyzed this whole time, began unloading the furniture back into the house. One of them, the young guy with the baseball cap, approached me. Mom, we're so sorry. We didn't know this was a theft. She told us it was a legal move. She showed us papers. It's all right. So, you were just doing your job. You're not responsible for any of this. The three movers worked quickly, returning every object to its place. My living room was my living room again. My patio was my patio again. My house was my house again. Meanwhile, Paul Jensen prepared all the evidence in chronological order. Documents in labeled folders. USB drives with the recordings. Certified copies of everything. Mrs. Bishop, he said. This is more than enough. Not only to defend you, but to countersue. You could demand compensation for moral damages, for defamation, for the stress caused. I shook my head. I don't want her money. I never wanted money. I just want my dignity back. And I want my son to wake up. An hour passed. Then another. The sun was high in the sky. The sea breeze came through the open windows. I had made coffee for everyone. The agents took notes. Gregory reviewed documents. Paul organized evidence. And Samantha waited, guarded in silence. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Daniel calling over and over. Finally, we heard a car engine brake sharply in front of the house. Hurried footsteps. The door opening. Daniel burst in like a hurricane. His hair was messy. His shirt wrinkled, as if he'd thrown it on in a hurry. He looked for Samantha. He found her. Then he saw me. What is going on here, Mom? Why are there cops? Why? He stopped as he took in the full scene. The agents from the DA's office. Gregory, with his briefcase. Paul with his laptop open. The movers finishing up with the furniture. Someone explain to me what the hell is going on, he demanded. Samantha got up from the sofa and ran to him, hugging him, crying. Daniel, your mother is accusing me of horrible things. They want to arrest me. Help me. Please. Daniel looked at me over Samantha's head, confused, waiting for me to say this was all a misunderstanding. But it wasn't. Daniel. My voice came out softer than I expected. You need to sit down. There are things you need to see. Things you need to know about the woman you married. What are you talking about? Samantha told me you signed a gift deed. That the house was for us. Did you change your mind? Son. I never gifted anything. I was tricked. Your wife and a fake lawyer had me sign fraudulent documents. And that's just the beginning. Daniel shook his head. Incredulous. No. Mom. You're confused. Samantha wouldn't do that. Confused. Gregory intervened. Your mother is in full command of her mental faculties. We have evaluations from 3 different specialists. What your mother has, young man, is evidence. A lot of evidence. Paul turned the laptop toward Daniel. Watch this. Please. And the video started. The first one, Samantha and the fake lawyer in my dining room. The lies. The deception. The signing under false pretenses. Daniel watched the screen. Pal. Samantha tried to grab the laptop. Don't watch that. It's edited. I swear. But Daniel pushed her away. He kept watching. Video after video. The dinner at the restaurant where they accused me of dementia. The text messages with her sister, calling him a useful idiot. The credit card statements he never authorized. The debts. The lies. And finally, the worst of all. The recording where Samantha discussed selling my property as soon as possible with the fake lawyer. How long until we can sell? 2 months max. Daniel sank into a chair. His face had gone through every possible emotion. Confusion. Denial. Anger. Pain. Now, all that was left was devastation. Samantha. His voice was barely a whisper. Is all this true? She was still crying. But she didn't answer. She couldn't. There was no defense against the evidence. Did you use me this whole time? You just wanted my mom's money. Silence. Answer me, Daniel shouted. And I had never heard him shout like that. Samantha finally spoke. But her voice had no sweetness left. Only bitterness. So what if I did? Your mom has money. We have debts. It's not fair that she has so much while we don't. Say we. Daniel interrupted her. I didn't have those debts. You made them. You spent the money. You lied. He stood up. He walked over to me. And for the first time in almost 2 years, my son truly looked at me, as if waking up from a long, painful spell. Mom? His voice broke. What have I done? And in that moment, I realized that getting my son back was going to hurt just as much as losing him. Daniel dropped to his knees in front of me. Tears streamed down his face uncontrollably. He was the image of a broken man. Someone who had just discovered that his entire life for the past 5 years had been a lie. Mom. Forgive me. Please forgive me. I wanted to touch him. I wanted to hug him like when he was a boy, and came crying with scraped knees. But something inside me still hurt too much. Wounds don't heal instantly. Even if the guilty party apologizes. Daniel. Get up. I said firmly. Don't kill. I never wanted this. He stood up, wiping his tears on the back of his hand. He looked at me with red eyes. I called you selfish. I yelled at you. I let them humiliate you at that dinner and said nothing. How can you even look at me? Because you are my son, and because she manipulated you. But that doesn't erase the pain. Daniel, it doesn't erase it. Samantha, from her spot guarded by the agents, let out a bitter laugh. What a touching scene. The heroic mother and the repentant son. But don't play the victims. You have money while other people. Shut up. Daniel turned to her with a coldness I had never seen in him. Don't speak again. You don't have the right. Just then, the buzzer rang again. Mike appeared at the door. Nervous. Mrs. Bishop. There are more people outside. They say they're Mrs. Samantha's family. I looked at Gregory. He nodded. I called them. We need witnesses to all this. And they need to know who their relative really is. Let them in. 3 people entered. I immediately recognized Linda, Samantha's mother. A woman in her 60s, with dyed mahogany hair and a perpetually worried expression. Behind her came Megan, Samantha's sister, 32 years old, with a look of genuine surprise. And finally, Frank, the father, a heavy-set man with a gray mustache. Samantha, what are you doing here? Linda looked around confused. You told us Eleanor had gifted you this house. That you wanted us to come see it because you were moving in. Samantha turned even paler. Mom. Mrs. Miller. I intervened. Your daughter not only did not receive this house as a gift, but she tried to steal it from me through fraud and forged documents. What? Linda put her hand to her chest. No, my daughter wouldn't do that. Paul Jensen stepped forward with his laptop. Would you like to see the evidence? For the next 20 minutes. Samantha's parents and sister saw everything. Every video. Every document. Every text message. And with each piece of evidence, their expressions went from disbelief to horror. Megan was the first to explode. Samantha. You told me Eleanor was senile. You made me believe you were helping her. And now I see that it was all a lie. You used me. I'm in those videos as an accomplice. It's not what it looks like. Samantha tried to defend herself weakly. It's not what it looks like. Megan showed her phone. Here are your texts. Daniel is a useful idiot. The old woman won't let go of a single penny. Those are your words. Frank, who had been silent, approached his daughter. His voice was heavy, full of disappointment. Samantha, we raised you with values. Your mother and I worked our whole lives to give you an education, to teach you to be a good woman. And this is how you repay us. By becoming a thief. Dad. Don't call me Dad. The man raised his voice. I don't recognize the woman I see here. This is not my daughter. Linda was crying silently. She approached me with hesitant steps. Mrs. Bishop. Eleanor. I don't know what to say. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know any of this. If I had known. I took her hand. She was an older woman like me. A mother like me. And I could see in her eyes the same pain I had felt. The pain of seeing your child turn into someone you don't recognize. I know. Linda, you are not to blame for your daughter's decisions. But I am responsible. I am. We did something wrong. We failed to teach her something. Megan was still yelling at Samantha, letting out years of accumulated resentment. You were always like this, ever since you were a kid. Always wanting what wasn't yours. Remember when you stole my best friend's boyfriend? When you forged Dad's signature to take money from his account? Mom forgave you for everything. She always forgave you. And look at us now, Paul interrupted, showing more documents. And there's something else the family should know. Samantha was married before to a businessman from Dallas. The marriage ended when he discovered her emptying their bank accounts. He paid her $200. Zero to go away. Linda staggered. Frank had to hold her up. You were married before. The mother looked at Samantha as if she were a stranger. You told us Daniel was your first husband. You told us. I told you what you wanted to hear. Samantha finally spat the truth with venom. Because if I had told you the truth, you and your morals wouldn't have supported me. I needed this marriage. I needed this chance. The silence that followed was deafening. Frank turned to the agents from the DA's office. Officers, do what you have to do. We are not going to defend her. We are not paying for lawyers. We are not going to visit her if she's in prison because this woman is no longer part of our family. Samantha screamed. Dad, you can't say that. I'm your daughter. My daughter died today. The person here is a criminal. Those words fell like a final judgment. Samantha completely broke down, crying hysterically. But no one moved to comfort her. Not her family. Not Daniel. No one. The agent spoke professionally. Miss Miller, you need to come with us. You will be held in preventative custody while the case is investigated. The charges are serious, and you are a flight risk. No? Please. Samantha looked at me. Eleanor, please drop the charges. I'll do anything. I'll leave. I'll disappear. But don't put me in jail. I approached her. I looked her in the eyes. And I spoke so that every word would be recorded. Samantha, you had many chances. You could have respected me. You could have genuinely loved my son. You could have built an honest life. But you chose the path of lies, fraude, and manipulation. And choices have consequences. So you're not going to forgive me. Forgiveness is between you and your conscience. I'm just making sure that justice is served. The agents handcuffed her. Samantha screamed. Cried. Begged, but they took her out of my house. My house. The house I had built with my own effort. The house she tried to steal from me. When the door closed, silence returned. Daniel was still standing, motionless, staring at where his wife had disappeared. Linda and Frank sat on the sofa, devastated. Megan was shaking with contained rage. Gregory put his hand on my shoulder. Eleanor. That was very brave. Not many people dare to go this far. It wasn't bravery. It was necessity. The necessity for dignity. Daniel approached me again. This time he didn't kneel. He stood in front of me, shoulders slumped with the posture of someone who had lost everything. Mom, I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but is there any way to fix this? Any way for us to go back? I didn't let him finish. Daniel, the road back is long. It's not fixed with an apology. It's fixed with actions. With time. With proving that you've really changed. I'll do whatever it takes. Then start with this. Get therapy. See a psychologist who can help you understand how you got here. How you let yourself be manipulated. Work on yourself. And when you're ready, when you've really done that internal work, then we'll talk. He nodded, the tears returning. I love you. Mom, I never stopped loving you. I got lost. I know. Son, I know. But I still had to make the hardest decision. What to do with all of this? Because revenge was never my goal. Justice was. For the next 20 minutes. Samantha's parents and sister saw everything. Every video, every document, every text message, and with each piece of evidence, their expressions went from disbelief to horror. Megan was the first to explode. Samantha, you told me Eleanor was senile. You made me believe you were helping her. And now I see that it was all a lie. You used me. I'm in those videos as an accomplice. It's not what it looks like. Samantha tried to defend herself weakly. It's not what it looks like. Megan showed her phone. Here are your texts. Daniel is a useful idiot. The old woman won't let go of a single penny. Those are your words. Frank, who had been silent, approached his daughter. His voice was heavy, full of disappointment. Samantha, we raised you with values. Your mother and I worked our whole lives to give you an education, to teach you to be a good woman. And this is how you repay us, by becoming a thief. Dad. Don't call me Dad. The man raised his voice. I don't recognize the woman I see here. This is not my daughter. Linda was crying silently. She approached me with hesitant steps. Mrs. Bishop. Eleanor. I don't know what to say. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know any of this. If I had known, I took her hand. She was an older woman like me. A mother like me. And I could see in her eyes the same pain I had felt. The pain of seeing your child turn into someone you don't recognize. I know. Linda, you are not to blame for your daughter's decisions. But I am responsible. I am. We did something wrong. We failed to teach her something. Megan was still yelling at Samantha, letting out years of accumulated resentment. You were always like this. Ever since you were a kid. Always wanting what wasn't yours. Remember when you stole my best friend's boyfriend? When you forged Dad's signature to take money from his account? Mom forgave you for everything. She always forgave you. And look at us now. Paul interrupted, showing more documents. And there's something else the family should know. Samantha was married before to a businessman from Dallas. The marriage ended when he discovered her emptying their bank accounts. He paid her $200. 000 to go away. Linda staggered. Frank had to hold her up. You were married before. The mother looked at Samantha as if she were a stranger. You told us Daniel was your first husband. You told us? I told you what you wanted to hear. Samantha finally spat the truth with venom. Because if I had told you the truth, you and your morals wouldn't have supported me. I needed this marriage. I needed this chance. The silence that followed was deafening. Frank turned to the agents from the DA's office. Officers, do what you have to do. We are not going to defend her. We are not paying for lawyers. We are not going to visit her if she's in prison, because this woman is no longer part of our family. Samantha screamed. Dad, you can't say that. I'm your daughter. My daughter died today. The person here is a criminal. Those words fell like a final judgment. Samantha completely broke down, crying hysterically. But no one moved to comfort her. Not her family. Not Daniel. No one. The agent spoke professionally. Miss Miller, you need to come with us. You will be held in preventative custody while the case is investigated. The charges are serious and you are a flight risk. No. Please. Samantha looked at me. Eleanor. Please drop the charges. I'll do anything. I'll leave. I'll disappear. But don't put me in jail. I approached her. I looked her in the eyes. And I spoke so that every word would be recorded. Samantha. You had many chances. You could have respected me. You could have genuinely loved my son. You could have built an honest life. But you chose the path of lies, fraud, and manipulation. And choices have consequences. So you're not going to forgive me. Forgiveness is between you and your conscience. I'm just making sure that justice is served. The agents handcuffed her. Samantha screamed, cried, begged. But they took her out of my house. My house. The house I had built with my own effort. The house she tried to steal from me. When the door closed, silence returned. Daniel was still standing, motionless, staring at where his wife had disappeared. Linda and Frank sat on the sofa, Devastated. Megan was shaking with contained rage. Gregory put his hand on my shoulder. Eleanor. That was very brave. Not many people dare to go this far. It wasn't bravery. It was necessity. The necessity for dignity. Daniel approached me again. This time he didn't kneel. He stood in front of me. Shoulders slumped with the posture of someone who had lost everything. Mom. I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but is there any way to fix this? Any way for us to go back? I didn't let him finish. Daniel. The road back is long. It's not fixed with an apology. It's fixed with actions. With time. With proving that you've really changed. I'll do whatever it takes. Then start with this. Get therapy. See a psychologist who can help you understand how you got here. How you let yourself be manipulated. Work on yourself. And when you're ready, when you've really done that internal work, then we'll talk. He nodded. The tears returning. I love you. Mom, I never stopped loving you. I got lost. I know. So, I know. But I still had to make the hardest decision. What to do with all of this. Because revenge was never my goal. Justice was. Frank approached Daniel and put his hand on his shoulder. Young man. My daughter caused you a lot of harm. As her father, I feel responsible. If you need help finding a good therapist, my brother is a psychiatrist. I can give you his contact. Daniel nodded. Grateful. Thank you. Sir. Megan also approached. Daniel. If you need someone to talk to, someone who understands what it's like to live in Samantha's shadow, I'm here. Not to replace anyone. Just as someone who was also a victim of hers, I was surprised to see compassion in Samantha's sister. But it made sense. She too had lived her whole life being compared. Competing. Feeling less than her perfect sister. Gregory's phone rang. He answered briefly. Nodded several times. And hung up. That was the DA's office. Samantha has been booked. They denied bail because she's a flight risk. She will remain in custody throughout the entire process. They estimate the trial will take between 6 and 8 months. And what's going to happen to her? Linda asked in a trembling voice. If everything is proven, and with the evidence we have, she's looking at 3 to 7 years in prison. Fraud. Forgery. Criminal conspiracy. These are serious felonies. Linda covered her face with her hands. Frank held her. But he too was crying silently. Seeing these parents suffer broke my heart. They hadn't done anything wrong. They just had the bad luck of raising someone born without a moral compass. Sir. Mom. I said to them. You are welcome to stay in touch with me if you need to. I know this is difficult. Losing a child, even to their own decisions, hurts just the same. Linda looked at me through her tears. Why are you being so kind to us? Because I'm a mother. And I understand the pain of loving someone who disappoints you. I understand what it's like to not recognize the person you raised. Those words resonated in the room. Daniel sobbed it. Frank pressed his lips together. We all understood in that moment that we were, in different ways, victims of the same person. Paul began packing his equipment. Mrs. Bishop. My work here is complete. All the evidence is backed up on 3 USB drives. One for you. One for Mr. Hayes. And one for the DA's office. The files are also in the cloud. Password protected. Thank you. Powell. Your work was impeccable. I just did what you hired me to do. Find the truth. The movers had already finished putting all the furniture back. They approached timidly. Mom? Everything's back in its place. Do you need anything else? I gave them a generous tip. They weren't at fault for any of this. When they left, it was just Daniel. Samantha's family. Gregory. Powell. And me. Daniel approached me one last time. Mom? I'm going to go. I need to process all this. But before he left, he took a keychain from his pocket. This is from the house we shared. Samantha and I I'm going to move out. I'm going to find something smaller. Cheaper. Something I can afford on my own. And when I'm settled, I'll let you know. In case someday, you want to visit. I took the keychain. It had a small Saint Hia Christopher medal that I had given him when he first moved out of my house. You keep Saint Christopher. I think you need him more than I do. Daniel put it back in his pocket. He gave me a hug. A desperate hug. Like someone saying goodbye without knowing when they'll see you again. I love you. Mom. Never forget that. I love you too. That's why I let you learn this lesson. And as I watched him leave, shoulders slumped, but his gaze a little clearer, I knew the hardest part was just beginning. Forgiveness. 3 months later, I woke up in my beach house to the sound of waves crashing on the shore. The same patio, the same ocean, the same salt breeze. But something had changed. I had changed. I made my chamomile tea and went out with my terracotta wool blanket. The sun was just beginning to paint the sky orange and pink. I sat in my favorite chair and took a deep breath. It had been an intense 3 months. 3 months of legal statements, of testimonies, of signatures and documents. 3 months of sleepless nights, of painful memories, of healing wounds I thought would never close. Samantha's trial had moved quickly. With all the evidence we presented, her defense attorney could barely do anything. She pleaded guilty to get a reduced sentence, 5 years in prison. Not half of what she deserved. But it was something. Daniel had kept his word. He moved into a small apartment in a modest neighborhood. 2 bedrooms, simple, nothing fancy. He sent me pictures. It was almost empty. Barely the necessities. Starting from scratch. His text read, he found a therapist. Dr. Velasco. Frank's brother. He sent me updates every 2 weeks. Not details of the sessions. Just so I'd know he was still going. Session 6 completed. Learning a lot about myself. He was also paying his debts. He had negotiated with the banks. Monthly payments that consumed almost half his salary. He was living modestly. No luxuries. No excess. He had tried to visit me twice. Both times I told him not yet. That I needed more time. And he accepted it without complaint. I understand. Mom. When you're ready. I'll be here. Samantha's family had become something unexpected. Allies. Linda called me every week. We talked about simple things. Recipes. The weather. TV shows. We never mentioned Samantha. It was as if we had a tacit agreement that the subject was forbidden. Megan visited me once. She brought pastries and coffee. We sat on this same patio. Thank you for not hating us, she said. Many people in your place would have cut off all contact with the whole family. You are not Samantha. I don't carry her sins on your backs. Megan cried. She told me what it was like growing up in the shadow of a sister who always got what she wanted. Who manipulated her parents. Who never faced consequences. Part of me is relieved, she confessed. Relieved that she's finally facing the consequences of her actions. It's horrible to say. But it's the truth. It's not horrible. It's human. My phone vibrated. It was a text from Gregory. Eleanor. Everything is finalized. The trust remains intact. All properties are secure. Samantha cannot make any claims now, or ever. You can sleep peacefully. I smiled. Sleep peacefully. It had been so long since I'd done that, but there was something else I had decided to do, something I had been thinking about for weeks. That afternoon, I called Gregory for a meeting. I also summoned Daniel. It was time. They both arrived at my Pasadena house 2 days later. Daniel looked different, thinner, with a few gray hairs he didn't have before, but his eyes were clearer. As if a fog had lifted. Mom. He greeted me with a careful hug. As if touching something fragile. Son. We sat in the living room. Gregory opened his briefcase. Eleanor asked for this meeting to discuss the future of her estate. Daniel. Your mother wants to make some important changes. Daniel turned pale. Mom, if this is about disinheriting me, I understand. I'm not going to fight it. Not after everything that happened. I raised my hand. This isn't about disinheriting you, Daniel. It's about making sure that what I built is used correctly. Listen before you speak. Gregory took out documents. Your mother has decided to modify her will and the trust. The properties remain within the trust. She remains the sole beneficiary as long as she lives. But upon her passing, things will change. He handed Daniel a copy of the document. He began to read, and I saw his expression change from confusion to surprise. The family home in Pasadena, I continued, will pass directly to you. It's your home. It's where you grew up. It makes sense that it's yours. Mom, I don't. Let me finish. The Beverly Hills condo will be sold upon my death. The money from that sale, approximately $3, 2 millions, will be divided into 2 parts. One half for you. The other half will go to a foundation. I'm creating a foundation. Gregory stepped in. The Eleanor Bishop Foundation for the Financial Protection of Senior Citizens. It will help elderly people facing financial abuse from family members, free legal advice, psychological support, temporary shelter if needed. Daniel looked at me with tears in his eyes. Mom, that's beautiful. It's necessary. Because I discovered my case isn't unique. There are thousands of elderly people being dispossessed, manipulated, declared incompetent by ambitious relatives. And no one defends them. And the beach house, Daniel asked. This house? I touched the table gently. Will also be sold. The entire amount, 5 millions, 5 millions, will go to the foundation so it has enough resources to operate for years. But that means I'll only inherit the Pasadena house, and $1, 6 millions. Correct. Of the nearly $15 million I have, you will inherit approximately $6 million in total if we count the value of the family home. The rest will go to help other people. I saw the conflict in his face. Part of him, the selfish part that Samantha had fed, felt it was unfair. But another part, the part that was learning to be better, understood. It's fair, he finally said. More than fair. After everything I did, you should be giving everything to the foundation. This isn't about punishing you, Danielle. It's about my money making a real difference. And besides, I pulled out another document. There's a condition, a condition, for you to receive your share. You must comply with this for the next 5 years. 1. Continue therapy regularly. 2. Keep your finances in order. No irresponsible debt. 3. Volunteer at the foundation for at least 10 hours a month. And 4. Rebuild our relationship. Not rushed. Not forced. But genuinely. If you don't meet these conditions, your share also goes to the foundation, and the Pasadena house becomes the foundation's headquarters. Daniel was silent for a long time. Then he nodded. I accept all the conditions. Don't accept them for the money, Daniel. Accept them because you genuinely want to change. I accept them because I want to be the man you deserved as a son. The man Dad would have wanted me to be. Those words broke me. The tears finally came. Tears I had been holding back for months. Daniel knelt in front of me. He took my hands. Mom, I know the road is long. I know I can't erase the damage with pretty words. But I promise you, on my dad's memory, I'm going to do the work. I'm going to be better. I'm going to earn back your trust. I hugged him. For the first time in years, I hugged my son and felt he was really my son again. You're already earning it, Daniel. Little by little. You're earning it. 6 months later, the Eleanor Bishop Foundation opened its doors in a rented office in downtown Pasadena. 3 lawyers, 2 psychologists, and a social worker. Daniel fulfilled his volunteer hours every Saturday, helping with administrative tasks. We had already taken on 16 cases. 16 elderly people who were being dispossessed, manipulated, and abused by their own families, and in 10 of those cases, we managed to reverse the damage. Linda volunteered twice a week. She coordinated the emotional support group. I need to do something good with the pain my daughter caused, she told me. Megan donated monthly. Not much. Her salary was modest. But it was something. Daniel and I had dinner together every Friday in simple places. Not fancy restaurants. Just homemade food and honest conversation. Little by little, we were rebuilding what was broken. One afternoon, while I was reviewing foundation papers at my beach house, the doorbell rang. It was Daniel. Unannounced. Son. What a surprise. Mom. I needed to see you. I needed to tell you something. We sat on the patio. He looked at the ocean with a serious expression. Today marks 1 year since that day. The day everything exploded. The day I woke up. I know, and I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for giving me consequences. But also opportunities. Many mothers would have just cut off all contact. You're my son. Cutting you off would be cutting off a part of myself. Dr. Velasco gave me an exercise last week. He asked me to write a letter to the person I had hurt the most in my life. Obviously, it was you. He took an envelope from his jacket. He handed it to me with trembling hands. You don't have to read it now. But I needed to give it to you. I opened the envelope. The letter was 3 pages long. Tears stained some of the words. I read in silence while Daniel watched the sea. The letter was a complete unburdening. Every memory from his childhood. Every time I had sacrificed something for him. Every time he had disrespected me and now remembered it with shame. Every therapy session revealing layers of guilt. Of manipulation he had suffered. Of responsibility. He now accepted. And at the end, a promise. Mom. I can't give you back the years we lost. I can't erase the words I said to you. But I can give you something. The rest of my life, being the son you deserve. Not perfect because I'm still human. But present. Honest. Yours. I love you. I have always loved you. Even when I didn't show it. Your son. Daniel. I folded the letter and put it back in the envelope. I looked at Daniel. Come here. He came closer. I hugged him tightly. Like when he was a boy and had nightmares. I forgive you. So, completely. I'm no longer carrying the weight of resentment. Daniel sobbed on my shoulder. I don't deserve your forgiveness. Nobody deserves forgiveness. That's why it's called grace. And I choose to give it to you. We stayed like that. Hugging as the sun set over the ocean. Mother and son. Broken. But healing. Wounded. But forgiving. Today. 2 years after that dawn. When the alarm went off. I sit on my patio with my chamomile tea and my terracotta blanket. The Eleanor Bishop Foundation has helped 83 people. 83 families where justice was restored. Daniel is engaged to a good woman. An elementary school teacher named Emily. He introduced me 6 months ago. She is simple. Honest. Hardworking. And she looks at him with genuine love. Not with eyes that calculate assets. Samantha is serving her sentence. I haven't visited her. I hold no grudge. But I also have no need to see her. Her chapter in my life is closed. My properties are safe. My will is updated. My son is healing. And I got back something more valuable than money. I got back my dignity. I got back my peace. I got back the ability to sleep soundly. Knowing that I was not a victim, but a warrior. That I didn't let myself be destroyed, but built something better from the broken pieces. I take a sip of my tea and smile at the ocean, because the real wealth was never in the $15 million. The real wealth was in having the courage to defend myself. The wisdom to plan strategically, and the grace to forgive without forgetting. I learned that a mother's love is unbreakable. But it doesn't mean being a doormat. I learned that patience is not weakness. It is the most powerful strategy. I learned that justice sometimes takes time. But when it arrives, it's worth every tear shed. And I learned that it is never, ever too late to defend what you built with your own two hands. I am 68 years old with gray hair, wrinkled hands, and a back that hurts some mornings. But I also have something Samantha never had and never will have: integrity. And that is priceless. If this story touched something inside you, if it made you reflect on the value of defending your dignity, on the importance of not letting anyone take what is rightfully yours, leave me a comment telling me where you're watching from. Because stories like this need to be shared so that other people know they are not alone, that family abuse exists, that manipulation is real, but that justice also exists, and that it is never, ever too late to stand up and fight for what is yours. Give this a like if you believe in justice. Subscribe for more real-life stories. And remember, dignity isn't inherited. It's built. It's defended. It's protected. And no one, absolutely no one, has the right to take it.